Good morning. My name is Jennifer Gyro. I am presenting my Literary Elements lesson plan. This is geared toward first grade class. The teacher objective is the teacher will describe characters, settings, and major events in a story using key details. For review, the teacher will review the idea of the author and the illustrator of a text. So the teacher will present the author of Freedom in Congo Square. And I would say something like, class, and they would say, yes. What does the author do? The author types the words. The author of this book is Carol Boston Weatherford. And class, yes. What does the illustrator do? And the class would respond, the illustrator paints the pictures. That's right, and our illustrator today is Gregory Christie. So the overview, the purpose and importance is to prepare students for literary comprehension in hopes of creating lifelong and fluent readers. Continuity in the past, last week we learned to identify the parts of a book. Today, we will describe characters, settings, and major events in a story using key details. In the future, tomorrow, we will sequence events of a story. The objective is the learner will be able to describe characters, settings, and major events in a story using key details. For the review, I would probably also have on display an anchor chart that we would have presented last year for author and illustrator and parts of a book. So for our motivation, we are to read, the teacher will read Freedom in Congo Square. As I chose my two activities, one actually involves the reading of Freedom in Congo Square. The first activity is the teacher will ask questions while reading the book using the crowd strategy prompts. The crowd strategy prompts were an activity that was listed in the big purple book. And so I have a bunch of questions that I printed out that I would probably ask as I went through the reading. So, Freedom in Congo Square. Mondays, there were hogs to slop, mules to train, and logs to chop. Slavery was no ways fair. 6 more days to Congo Square. First of all, I'm sorry, I forgot my first question. We would look at the cover of the book, and I would say, can you predict what is going to happen in Congo Square? And so then I would take a few predictions, and hopefully one of them would see the person on the cover dancing. So when we get to this page, I'll say something like, do you know what slavery is? Does anybody know what slavery is and what the word slavery means? And slavery is when people own other people. They have to work for them and do everything that they ask. But today, all around the world, most places consider slavery to be wrong. So, and then I would ask, so when do you think this story takes place? Do you think this is today, or do you think this is a long time ago in the past? Tuesdays, there were cows to feed, fields to plow, and rows to seed. A moment without work was rare. 5 more days to Congo Square. So what are the people doing all week long? Wednesdays, there were beds to make, silver to shine, and bread to bake. The dreaded lash, too much to bear. 4 more days to Congo Square. And I would say, what do you think is happening in this picture? And we would maybe discuss how, the boss looks like a mean boss and that he's controlling all the workers. Thursdays, there were clothes to clean, floors to scrub, and babes to wean. Spirituals rose from the despair. 3 more days to Congo Square. So spirituals are songs that are sung to express what people are feeling. How do you think these people are feeling? Fridays, there were crops to pick, trees to prune, and walls to brick. Run away, some slaves dared. 2 more days to Congo Square. And then we would discuss what would you run away? Would you want to run away? And what do you think the slaves wanted the most? Well, actually, I would ask that on the next page. So on this page, I would prompt, ask the students if they would want to run away as well. Saturdays, there were beans to can, hens to pluck, and folks to fan. Freedom was slaves' ardent prayer. 1 more day to Congo Square. So then when we would talk about what do you think the slaves wanted the most in life? And we would talk about that freedom. Week in, week out, from sun to sun, always more chores to be done. And I would say, what do you notice about the sounds of the words in this book? And hopefully they would notice that the words are rhyming. And I would say, yes, this book is written in a poem because the ending sounds of the words rhyme. And even as the plantation slept, wood was on the fire kept. But Sunday was a day of rest when Master charmed the weekend guests. Slaves had off one afternoon when the law allowed them to commune. They flocked to New Orleans, Congo Square. Sundays, slaves and free met there. So, what does commune mean? And we would talk about commune is when you get together with your friends and your family, and you're spending time and you're eating and you're playing music and that kind of thing. And then we would talk about where is Congo Square? Well, here it says it's in New Orleans. And how many of you have been to New Orleans? A lot of our students are very familiar with New Orleans down here in Baton Rouge. So hopefully that's something that they can relate to. And then, let's see. And then we would also talk about what day they went to Congo Square. And that is Sundays. It was a market and a gathering ground where African music could resound. Beneath the sun in the open air, the crowd abuzz with news to share. And so what kind of music did they play? And hopefully they picked up on the African music. So where do you think the slaves were from? Grouped by nation, language, tribe, they drummed ancestral roots alive. They played triangles, gourds and bells, bandas, flutes, fiddles, and shells. Women in gauze, silk, and percale, men in fringe and furry tails, shook tambourines and shouted chants as rhythms fueled a spirited dance. They rejoiced as if they had no cares, half day, half free in Congo Square. This piece of earth was a world apart. Congo Square was freedom's heart. And so then we would talk about why do you think they wanted to go to Congo Square? And, to have a little bit of freedom and to dance and be with their friends and to get away from the work. And those are all things we would discuss. And I would say, I would relate, and that's the end of the book, but I would try to relate it to how does music and dancing make you feel? And then also, what are the kinds of things that you do on a Sunday? Because a lot of people do get together with their friends and family and go to church, and there's dancing and there's singing and there's music. And so those are all connections that I would try to make within the classroom. So for the next activity, the teacher will present a narrative text structure, story grammar worksheet. This I also got, this one is off of the Florida Resources website. And but as we go along, this is something that I would model on the overhead and have the children fill it out along with me. So we would have our book for reference, but it's, let me grab a pen, something where I would write and then they would write along. So we would say, well, where's the setting? Where did this take place? And we would say, you know, a farm, because there were a lot of farm pictures and they could relate the plantation to a farm. We could say New Orleans, you know. We could say Congo Square. These are all parts of the setting. And then the characters. Hopefully they know that the characters were the slaves. And then the problem. The problem is that the slaves were not free. And so they were, you know, they were feeling very sad. And then some of the importance events would be the work that the slaves did on the farm. So anything that they would remember from the book, the you know, the feeding the hogs, the weaning the babes, the laundry that they washed, and all that kind of stuff. And then the solution would be they went to Congo Square on Sunday to dance and play music and sing. So I would model all of this, though I would not expect the kids to fill this in by themselves. I also would love to do a connection. I really love this book, and so this is probably a book I would work on in a unit for about a week, because tomorrow we could do, with the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we could do the sequencing of the story, but it's also something I would show kind of this is a YouTube video, a video of Congo Square and the dancing that happens in the afternoons on Sunday in Congo Square. They actually do have a like a heritage group that meets there, and so we would watch this video and the kids could relate to, could kind of see it and hear the music. And so this kind of goes on. This is about a 2 or 3 minute video. We would talk about, you know, how this still happens today, that people do meet in Congo Square, and we would look at the African drums and all the African dances that are being done. And then lastly, if I was also, you know, doing a whole unit on this throughout the week, I would try to get instruments of our own. I have a tambourine right here, but also drums and different things. A lot of teachers have access to little instruments like that, and we would try to make up our own little kind of rhythm and dance. And here's something I found on YouTube, and I just thought it was precious. So this is definitely something I would want to be doing in my classroom with the kids, and that also relates it to their outside.
6, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, so that was based on the words of Congo Square. So that is the learner will identify story elements using key details with 80% accuracy, and this has to do with the remembering and understanding of Bloom's taxonomy. And I didn't do all my early finisher stuff. Stop it.